Oh yeah, I forgot
So,
to win.
so we're live now, and I just want everyone to know that typically when we come into these, um, Marcus, it could be a movie. Normally, when we start these sessions, Sharong is saying something a little sketchy and scandalous, and we plug Honey and Hot Wax. But we're actually talking, and we'll get into this at the end of the episode. That my good friend Pro Restarter, who is playing Daequan, they have a Patreon, and we'll talk about that as the game goes on. But great to see an audience out here tonight for our prep session. This is prep session number 6, but there's something a little special this week for the prep session. We're doing a side story for one of our characters in our Knights Black Agents campaign. My name's Grant Ellis. I'm the producer of WebDM's Twitch channel and the director of the Dracula Dossier campaign. And this is Pro. Pro, how you doing? Who are you, and where can we find you online?
Hey, yeah, super hyped to be here doing a side story with Daequan. Jump back into it. I've been really enjoying the game so far, so getting to play this little section is was great. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And as was said as well, my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Shadow of Arcanum, or one word. Uh, so there it is. And yeah, thank you. I really appreciate putting that in the chat. And yeah, as a podcast that's going out right now, a bunch of POC LGBTQ plus full cast members. So you want to get some good drama, support some POC people, check it out.
It's the most attractive cast in all of podcasts. I don't
Go
know.
on.
That's some gorgeous folks on there, and people are like, me. They often say me that I have a face for podcasting and a voice for print. So,
People just tell me to go away.
oh god. So let's talk a little bit about Daequan as a character. And for those of you that joined us last week, we looked at the Daequan files, which, if you want to follow along in those as an audience, I'm going to share the link to them, and so that you can see them. So Daequan is a character in Knights Black Agents, the Dracula Dossier, played by Pro, and is currently investigating a vast vampire conspiracy. We've had several players mention to me, both on this show and in private, that they want to get to know this character more. Who was Daequan before he was a... it's he, him pronouns for Daequan?
He, him, yes.
Yes. Before Daequan was a roguish agent investigating the vampire conspiracy, what did he do?
So Daequan used to work with MI6, with Special Forces, military first, and did a number of stints in different countries, and then was sanctioned to, because they were a gun specialist, a mechanic specialist, and had like good leadership qualities. They were tasked with arming up and training a bunch of mercenaries and recruits in various countries in Africa to stop various warlords and terrorism and things like that. So they did that for a number of years as well. And more, I think, will come up as we go.
Want to add that the art was done, I just dropped the Twitter and chat as well, by Jabari Weathers, a local Baltimore artist, local to me here in the mid-Atlantic on the East Coast United States. And that's... the picture evokes badass. So it was a bit of mystery.
Yes. I do love Jabari as well.
Yeah, so... we're going to start tonight's prep stream with a flashback episode. And for the purpose of this episode, when you think about your character in the character sheet, it's a little more free form than that. I'm going to give you essentially 4 points to use in any skill, any investigative skill, because you're by yourself, so we're playing solo, so you would have access to a wider range of skills than if we were typically playing.
Nice.
But you are currently serving in the summertime in Africa. In fact, you are serving training. You're training a mercenary unit. Essentially, we had this is a private military company, and this military company is considered by many here to be. They're a source of power and respect, and they are for the people and by the people. Not every government has the resources to protect their nation from threats. So the military unit was trained by you. And of this military unit, who were 2 or 3 individuals, and this is improv, just so the audience knows, we're going to come up with this together, who are 2 or 3 individuals that impressed you the most during their training, and what about them impressed you so much?
So I've been training for a bit. Let's kind of narrow down a place. We'll say we're in like Kenya. And then I think there was one guy, Butch. I think one of those like big, muscular, like very intimidating
Like me?
men who like are just
No.
ripped. They're just like ripped.
Yeah.
But they're like as sweet as pie, and they're like they're super nice and like friendly, but they just look intimidating. So there's like buff black guy, and I think he was I think almost like Anto, so he was good at like hand to hand and things like that, and like a weapon specialist also. Let's give him the name Dumisa. It's like a Nigerian name.
Yeah. So Dumisa.
Then I think also there was a woman there as well. She was strong. I think she was like a marksman, like a sniper. Like one of the best snipers in the entire troop. We'll say that they are Asian. We'll kind of narrow it down, and we'll say Chinese. Just so we can not just have a blanket statement.
I was going to say, because Sharong often shows up on the Asian role players panels. And we're like, hey! No one expects it. And they're like, well, he's from India, so...
Yeah. So it's always good to narrow it down. And let's call her Shu.
So, Shu, the Chinese marksman.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, too. It's one of those things. Could have been... an Olympian, perhaps, a marksman, Olympian on that level, a skilled shooter. I also always like the big teddy bear characters. Personally, I had a friend who was an MMA fighter. They were actually the Elite XC champion. They're from Brazil. They were Antonio Bigfoot Silva. So he was a super heavyweight and really good. He fought in the UFC and everything. But just like giant and... but like would spend free time talking to me about like his grandparents, because we lived in the same city in Brazil. Like I lived in Fortaleza, and he's like, oh, that's where my grandparents live. I miss grandma's cooking. And we'd sit there and we'd talk about eating arroz e feijão, which is a beans and rice dish. And I'm like, you are like the nicest human being until you turn it on. All right. And for those of you joining the prep stream, this prep stream has 3 phases. There's a flashback into Daequan's past, a flash forward to just before the campaign began, and then we're going to get into some standard prep. So, Shu, Dumisa, and Daequan were returning from a supply drop, large convoy. You have 5 or 6 troops with you. You were picking up supplies and you were bringing them back to your remote station. Dumisa had called ahead on the comms, the communications, encrypted. No response. What do you do and how do you proceed? Dumisa informs you. It's dead. It is either the comms are broken or something's interfering.
And and I think as we lean forward, we see their con looks completely different. They have like a shaved, militarized head. They don't have any kind of beard, no nose ring, and they look in like tactical gear. So I like they sit forward and they grab the device, and they look at it. Is it just a kind of like a walkie-talkie kind of thing, or is it like a whole setup?
It's built into your car console. It's pretty sophisticated.
Mm.
Um, it has like a multiple authentication to get in because it's an encrypted line. State of the art. The level of technology is about 1 tier better than what you were used to, even in special forces. There's a kindly benefactor of sorts known as Rizik. Rizik is a Lebanese billionaire who has spent his fortune funding these private armies in Africa to help keep the population safe. Has some access through Silicon Valley into some of the more sophisticated state of the art. The year of this is probably closer to like 2005 or something, though. So, what's state of the art then? We're like, this version of the iPhone? Ugh, throw it out the window.
It's a brick phone. It's like a flip phone. So
Take
yeah, I
photos.
mean, I think because I know it's top line and this shouldn't really be happening. I think I'm going to kind of go for it and see if I can find any other channel while I look over to Shu and I tell her to have eyes up, just so we can kind of scout as we're going, to make sure that like there's no one off in the distance as we're kind of moving forward. And I think I slow our pace down a bit.
Right. So the as you slowly approach, and you're in a large military motor vehicle, um, it's everything looks as if it's normal. The outer wall is shut to the facility. It looks like there's watchmen on duty, watching from above, um, and but no one's coming through on the comms. It's just dead air. No other channels are responding. Um, there's one channel that you have access to, which is sort of like a private command line.
Mm-hmm.
On that line, you notice it's been completely disconnected. It's not dead air. It's been taken down. So someone has knocked out command at the highest level.
Okay, I see the people standing there. On guard, you said.
They're standing. You can see their silhouettes in the towers. They're kind of backlit by the setting sun, but the there's a smaller chap named Remington. We've got to have a comms guy who's just like, well, every now and then on these hot days, the towers overheat, and I could probably go up there and maybe take a look at it because there's no reason why it'd go down. There's no.
Yes, go with Shu and Shu, watch his back. Me and Dumisi will head around the front and see what's going on. And this is all happening in like the Kenyan kind of like localized language, Bantu.
Mhm.
So this is all kind of going on in that. And I think I stop halfway up and we break off. I want to make my approach on foot.
Cool. And that's how we proceed from there, where we're coming on foot. We are maybe less than a quarter mile away, and Although there's guards in the tower, you notice they don't really seem to acknowledge our approach. They don't really seem to acknowledge anything.
I think that's
They're just standing.
yeah. I think that's strange. I'm gonna look through a scope that I have, and just kind of unhook it from a rifle and just kind of like look and see.
As you look through the scope of your rifle, you can see that they've been impaled to the wall and positioned as if they're standing. But there are long spears that have pierced their abdomens and through the wall. And when I say spear, not like a hand spear, it was probably like a projectile sharp missile.
Oof. I think then I look towards Demusi and I just say, "The hell, we've been attacked. Gear up. Make sure you're ready." And I think if we have like a internal like little comms between the
Mm-hmm.
four of us, I just kind of click it once, and I should go to like their like internal to kind of like say like something's wrong, as like a code. And I think I go with Demusi just like to the front, and we try and scale in.
All right. So, Dumisi has the comm key to open the front gate, so he gets it open relatively easy. The two of you need to physically push the gates, though. It's heavy too. It takes more time than probably it should to get it open because no one's inside to operate the mechanical side of the gate. So it requires some exertion to get
Okay,
it.
we're both buff.
Yes, you're both buff though, so it's like, all right, we got this. Then the front entryway to the compound sits there ominously. There's no one on foot. It's just sort of a large, heavy front door that's sealed and requires the passcode to get inside, which you know. Let me know if you'd like to go in or if you'd like to further search around the compound or if there's anything else you'd like to do. It is an investigative game.
Yeah, I think as we're going, I think going in blindly is not the right thing to do. So I think before we go ahead straight in, I think I'm going to look around just briefly with Dumisa and just kind of see if we can find anyone, see if there's any bodies on the ground, any kind of signs of a struggle or any kind of like shell casing. So that seems odd because it seems like we've been infiltrated, considering that they were propped up.
You see as you search around, there is a supply van that you would know because of your military science training. It has the semblance of your unit, rather your benefactors. You know, this looks like it's a Rizik supply van. It's patterned after the one you arrived here on. So probably from the distance, someone was disguised as you all, and used that deception to get access through the front gate, and then got inside.
Yeah, I think I go in, check it, look real quick. I don't check for any of the. I mean, I check for the gov department, check like the dash thing, but I don't give it a too much of a once over because time's of the essence. So I think as this is happening, me and Dumisa kind of go forward and I slowly start punching in the code as I'm like trying to listen in.
Yeah, as you look through, you notice in the back, it's just filled with refrigeration units. They're empty, but just filled with refrigeration units.
Can I open one then before I punch the code in?
Sure. Yeah, and as you look inside, there's nothing in them, but they're very clearly designed to store. What sort of? Go ahead and name to be maybe an investigative skill that you would like to use. Can be any of them, to figure out what's going on here.
I think then I think military science then. I think
Mm-hmm.
again to kind of see if this is some kind of uh
This is yeah. It's a so this is a medical supply unit. Typically, combat
medics.
medics would take if they needed to perform like emergency blood transfusions and things like that to keep people alive in the field, they would use a unit like this to transfer the blood.
Okay, yeah, I've medics free, so I think I'm looking at this very strangely, wondering why this whole van is just pumped up with blood. Um,
And it's currently empty, so it's just empty units.
mm,
There's literally nothing in here.
yeah, I
Um,
think it's even stranger, and I think kind of going in, I gave a quizzical look to Dumisa, but it's one of worry and unsure of like it's just strange, and then I think I go towards the passworded door, um, and have him watch my back as I pump it in. Uh, yeah.
as you put the passcode in, you hear the door, a large, heavy lock remove itself inside. And the door starts to slide open. It is pitch black inside, and then you hear what must be thousands of bats come flying out through the front of the door, and they're shooting out in a massive column. The bats are just coming out, more and more and more of them. They are flying out. I just realized I hadn't been playing my music, but yeah, they are shooting through the front of the compound and flying out. You've never had a bat problem before, and bats aren't typically local to here.
Yeah,
But
especially
they
not
do
that
take off
magnitude.
into the sky.
Yeah, like I look towards Dimitri. What the hell was that?
He readies the gun and he just goes, "On your order," and he's ready to go in.
Right, what's your six? And I stop talking at that point and start doing military like sign language and.
Okay.
Again.
You move in. It's dark. There are no lights on inside at all, which makes it extremely challenging. Your preparedness, you're able to put on
I think I
goggles,
put my
switch to night
goggles,
vision.
yeah.
You see motion in an office on your left. It looks like there are two heads kind of moving around quietly. No one's watching the door. They're silhouettes. They're not moving like military personnel. They're moving like civilians. You know people that have been trained, have been taught to be cautious. They are not moving cautiously.
Okay, I think me and Dumisa going quietly and low, sticking to the walls, edging around the corner, trying to not be heard, and just kind of sneaking ahead. And as I get to kind of the door where they are, is the door open or are they like?
The door is ajar, so it's slightly open. They didn't shut it all the way.
I'm going to listen in and look in, see if I can hear them say anything or see if I can make out any weapons that they have.
You
Before I
hear,
burst in there.
"Careful not to spill. That's not where the vein's located. You've done this like 3 dozen times now, and you're still fucking up." Like they're just going on and on, where they're like, you can tell it's almost like bickering. They're kind of going back and forth, almost like a married couple. It's like, "Look, I've been drawing blood for years. I've standard first aid training, and it's going on. I was a Boy Scout.
I know the knots. All right, just give me a minute.
I know the knots." Yeah, and they're just going. They're going around the clock, and it's almost agitating at that point.
I think what we see Daequan do is that their hand goes to a little baggie that's Velcro sealed. They open it, and I take out what looks to be like one very like jagged, like very thin but very pointed, like throwing knife. So I plan to kind of go in with my pistol and kind of whack this towards one of them behind the neck and hold the other one at gunpoint.
Okay. So, go ahead and make an infiltration check for me.
Oh God!
I know, right? It's only a difficulty 2, so...
Actually, can I change what I do?
Sure.
If I may?
Yeah.
Can I actually use a, because I realized I got explosives, can can I use a small flash as I kind of bust the door open and do a flash and kind of surprise him that way? 'Cause I think that'd be a better way.
100%. Let
It's
me.
more militarized thing to do.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm
The old flash and bag entry.
the old flash and bang. So I'm going to see if I can. Let me just do a quick test with the die roll to see if it
Nah.
shows up. Oh, I get why that doesn't show up. There we go.
Doing it live.
You can see it, chat. I want to make sure that our die rolls show up for you. So go ahead and do. I think this would either be a point in tradecraft or a weapons roll.
I have explosives.
That works as well.
Yeah. I'm going to use 2 points in explosives. And let's see here. D6. Oof. I got a 4.
We got a 4. I don't know why it didn't show up on stream. Yeah, that's good enough. So, describe how this looks in the game. And, yeah.
I think as the music gets on the other end of the door, we count down. He's gonna blast the door open as I get the canister ready, and my hand is my thumb is on the trigger. As the door flies open, I throw it in. The blast goes out. We hit that loud, high-pitched ping as we go in with the lights on our guns flashing out, so that will also disorient them. And I'm just going to like tackle them to the ground.
Yeah, and you have them down, knives, guns, both these and these, and yeah, they're just they're scrawny, they're fairly weak. One, his skin color it's just kind of pasty white, has a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. He's got shaggy hair like a failed 90s pop star, and the other
Nice.
ones is shellacked back, way too much hair wax, has a like a dulled nose piercing, green eyes, and is a slightly more tan complexion than the other. They are both terrified of you and Demisi, where it's just like, you have them.
Slam them to the ground.
I thought we got all of them.
Who are you? Who are you working with? How did you get in here? Answer me. And I'm like bending his arm back.
Like, they hurt, and it's almost, they go, we have to read the cards they gave us. They gave us cards. Yeah. If you question us, we're supposed to read from the card.
Which one said that?
Both of them. The first one that talked was the one without the nose piercing, and the second one was like, yeah, we got to read from the cards.
When that gives me the attitude response, I shoot him in the face.
All right, yeah. So he's dead now, and they're like, okay.
Tell me who you are.
We're part of a group called Freedom for Romania. We're kind of like Greenpeace, only we're people. Soldiers have been hurt in the Balkans, and we are performing blood extractions. We were informed to extract the blood here, and you can tell they don't look right in the eyes. You can't tell if they've been doing a bunch of psychedelics, they've been smoking a bunch of whatever strange substance, or if they sniff glue, but they are very clearly not themselves, and most civilians that you treat this way would break instantly.
Yeah. I think as he's down the hot barrel, I kind of like put to the face, not on it, but just so they can feel the heat. And then I'm just going to say, "You're a long way from Romania. What are you doing here, really?" And I slam him down. I'll be like, "Answer me!"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're collecting blood, and you see they've been drawing pints and pints and pints of blood from dead soldiers. The soldiers don't look like they've been shot by wounds from weapons that you typically see. Their bodies look like they're in very good condition. And yeah, and the one that you've killed, he's like, "You shot Curtis!"
Curtis was giving me attitude. I don't like attitude. I like answers.
Oh,
Can I use my interrogation on this guy?
yeah, he starts to tell you, and he starts to come clean. He's like, "All right, I'll talk. So we've been reading a lot online about wars occurring in foreign lands, but we weren't reading about them on like main news sites. Like we actually found them through all of our like goth community live journals, and there was an opportunity to go on a tour of Romania. Yeah, it's true. And if Curtis was here, he'd say he also had a dead journal, but we used our live journals. We like used our blogs. And then we all got together and we pooled money. Like a recruiter started coming to our nightclub, the Wave in Norfolk, Virginia. And like they let us know that there's a way to collaborate with the military, and the Navy was sponsoring offshore trips. And before long, we were told that they needed volunteers to do extractions, and that's what's occurring here. Because
Good question. What language is he speaking?
He's speaking wretched English. Not the Queen's English, but Grant's kind of English. He's literally from my hometown of Norfolk, Virginia, and I think I'm basing this guy off of one of the goth club kids that the club I used to bounce.
Nice.
Curtis was Curtis Felix from film school. Sorry, Curtis, you're dead. You were shot in the face, but I was thinking of someone I could... I'm not going to say I could live if Curtis was shot in the face, but I was like, who would be mouthy that would probably get hit? Yeah, Curtis would.
Died in 5 seconds.
Yes.
I look towards the Musa as like this splur of just information is coming up, but it doesn't mean anything to me, and I'm just looking at him like, does this mean anything to you? Like, what? What's this guy talking about?
Yeah, like, so, Demisa looks at him and he's like, this is the strangest. Like, how would they have killed so many of our soldiers? Like, these are fighters. These are elite. We train them.
They have no weapons on them. As far as I can tell, they're wearing civilian clothes.
No, I'm lover, not a fighter, he says, and then Dumisa just slaps him, and he's like, he's not unconscious, but he shuts up. He says, there are others that do the fighting, and they often do it without drawing any weapons.
Where are the others? Are there more of you? Where?
He says they went deeper inside.
I think I as this happens, I kind of like sit him down. I've like done the kind of elastic band things, the slip knot things around the wrists, put like a bag over this guy's face, and I'm like, I walk off to the side and I try and get in contact with Shu.
Sorry, I think I've got it fixed now. Yeah, so Shu, you hear her, as you come over, she says, we've got a whole lot of problems. We have problems at Central Command.
I'm in, yes. What's wrong?
They're moving too quick and our bullets don't hurt them.
Where are you? Who are they?
They don't have any insignia that we can really recognize, but one of them, she's fast. She's on some kind of drug. She's got Remington.
Oh, damn it, Remington. I look towards Demisa and I just say to Demisa, keep this guy down. I'm gonna go back up. Shoo. If this guy does anything, don't hesitate.
All right, and then he has him. So, if you're headed towards Central Command, you see that most of the rooms, there's just bodies that are down. There's pints and pints of blood that have been extracted.
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, there's there's a lot of there seems to be an unusual amount of vermin in here. And as you come to Central Command, you see Shu standing with a pistol drawn. You see the silhouette of a woman. She's wearing what looks like a white gown. And she has Remington. And she's just kind of like holding, her hand near his throat. And Shu's not too sure how to respond. You're from behind. You can see this through the door. The door is closed.
Is there a window or anything else? Or is it just like the door that's like a jar? Just like a jar.
The door is closed, but you can see through a port window.
Okay. I'm gonna try and get up to that port window. And with my my rifle kind of like on my side, I'm gonna try and take a shot, try and take her out, this target out from a distance.
All right, make a roll. You can spend any points you want to spend.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my shooty shoot, which is a 10, so I'm gonna use 3 points from that because nobody hurts Remington but me. Oh,
so no, that's
9.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
So, what happens is, you shoot. There we go. You see the individual. She moves out of the way with Remington. Your bullet goes right past Shu and hits the wall, almost as if she knew the bullet was coming. And then she turns around and you notice her eyes. They're like a piercing blue. And as she looks at you, you feel a sense of euphoria and peace unlike any you've ever felt before. This is a tense combat situation. I need you to make a hypnosis check or any other sort of like mental resistance.
Mental resistance. I don't think I have anything that would be like a side thing.
You can always straight 1d6 as well, and I'll let you add it. And I'll let you add 3 points to the roll. It's one of these like you're mentally tough.
Yeah, because the 4 points that you add on. Okay, I'll do that. Wish me luck, chat. Hypnosis now. Oh, okay. That's 6.
You can tell that she's attempting to bring you under the effects of a hypnotic gaze. The thoughts that your mind are filling with makes perfect sense. I mean, she's beautiful, not really your type. She could use more meat on those bones. Ha ha ha. But there's something very, very alluring about her and something entrancing. And you notice, though, that while you're able to shake the cobwebs out, Shu seems to be caught under this as well. You can tell she has the same look in her eyes that the idiot that Dumisa beat up.
Can I, if it's possible, can I pretend to be under it?
Sure.
If that's even possible.
Yeah, let's describe how you want to do this. You could use an what interpersonal skills do you have?
Bullshit detector, bureaucracy, cop talk, interrogation, negotiation, streetwise, tradecraft. And that's it, really. I don't have like
Yeah, you're
three.
fine. So yeah, you can feign it. It's not going to be a roll. She feels that you're under.
She feels like she's competent against this human.
Yeah, there's no reason why.
So
And then
I
she's like,
think
mm-hmm.
I think Daequan slowly walks out of the of the building, gun in hand but at the hip, not really doing anything, and just slowly walking forward.
Help us load the vans. This blood won't stay good forever. You have strong arms. We need the van to be loaded.
Yeah, yes. I should load the fans. I'm strong. Is there anything around, or is the fan back where I came from?
The van is exactly where it was left, and you notice there's like 3 or 4 other members that you recognize from your unit that are also kind of like stumbling around. Um, would you like to spend a point in notice?
Yes, I would.
You would, yeah. You got the points. You notice that they have bite marks on their neck, and they are assisting in the retrieval of all this blood and loading it in the van. Some people are mumbling, about how much better life is going to be in Romania. They're so glad she came. They look forward to their new mission. They're so glad there was a change in orders, and they're very excited for the new British government that's going to be installed.
Don't like that. Yeah, so I think Daequan is loading up some stuff, but is trying to edgely get closer and closer. So it like whatever's around, they're going to pick the stuff that is closest to this woman. And when they get close enough, they're going to. I spent 3 points right last game. Yes, last roll for the thing.
Yeah, but I would say the investigative points, each one of those can either be 1 for investigation or 3 towards like you're fighting someone, confrontation.
Mm-hmm. So I think Daequan is just going to get closer and closer, and then try and once again, I think try and stab this person like with a knife, because I think they put away that gun, but they always have like a knife right by the chest. So I think they're gonna try and get close and try and stab them from like behind.
Okay. Make an infiltration check.
God, yeah. Anto, where are you?
And I'm only saying that because you have to get in close and maintain the deception.
That is totally fair. So I'm going to spend 1 point of that, and then I'm going to spend the last point from the 4 that that 4 point you gave me. So it's going to be a 2 in total plus this roll. 4.
All right. So, as you're approaching forward, Shu shouts, "He has a knife!" And then, like, some of the shamblers turn around. I know, and, like, they're so confused, they're like, Put the knife away. Daequan, you shouldn't have a knife. And yeah, the vampire bride turns around, and she's like, "You don't need a weapon." And then she kind of looks at you inquisitively. She goes, "But maybe you do." And everyone there turns to come after you. So the chase is on. Shu and Remington are part of this, as well as 5 former allies. So it's 7 highly trained. You've trained them, highly confident, but they don't seem to be using standard military tactics. They're throwing all caution to the wind.
Okay, as this is happening, I'm just try and throw that knife at the bee.
MOS, you killer! No.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
go ahead.
to the side.
Yeah, weapon it.
because I'm just like F you. All right, so I'm gonna spend from weapon 2. I have a 6 in weapons, so I'm pretty good with weapons. 4 again, god damn it.
It's one of those things you throw, and one of the thralls throws their body in the way, gets hit and is gashed pretty bad, and they're like,
Oh
anything,
no.
anything for our new mistress. We'll protect her. We'll protect her. We'll take the knife blows. We're willing to die for her. She'll bring us to a new life. Yes, we can never die in her presence. And then, yeah, so they're getting very intense where they're willing to put it all on the line. So I need you to make an athletics check to get out of there. However, before that happens, you see the door knocked open. Dumisa's there, and he has his machine gun ready, and Squirt, like the little toady that he was manhandling, is with him as well. And you notice that he just kind of like, he's like, look, I can only fire so many guns at once. But he sees that it's his own people. You know, this is his people. He can't open fire on them. And so he just smoke grenades and throws it in there and is trying to smoke the place up. So he's like, Daequan, get out. So that's going to reduce the number you need to beat to get out. So you're going to need a 6 to outrun. So it's going to be athletics. You can spend points and roll dice. And if you have athletics parkour, you can get an additional 3.
I don't know how you get athletics parkour.
You need to have athletics score of at least 8. What do you have?
I have 10.
You have it. So at any point, you have 3 additional points you can spend.
Oh, shit. Okay.
As long as you describe the cool stuff you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to use the parkour. So I think because we were building and shipping stuff in the van, I think as the smoke grenade goes out, Daequan just reaches onto their belt, takes out 2 flash grenades, just throws them behind him, and we see that light up in the smoke, and we see the boxes and the other stuff that we were loading into the truck, and Daequan just jumps on one, jumps on another, jumps on like the kind of top roof, climbs on, and then like goes to like the big kind of outer barrier wall, jumps on that, and then like goes to jump down and like kind of barrel roll, side roll onto the ground from like another small jeep that's there.
Brilliant. Yeah, you're making your way. Dumisa can't bring himself to open fire on his unit, but he's just trying to like throw desks and you know, jam doors and just try to create as much of. Yeah, he's like run. I'll catch up, boss. It's all right. You trained me well. You're coming towards the jeep. There are no keys for it offhand. You're gonna have to try to hotwire this thing, which would be a mechanics check.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. I'm gonna get like my last knife that I have on me, and it's like a boot knife. So I'm gonna go into my boot, flip it out, and I'm going to like go into the bottom and just try and hotwire this thing.
All right.
I've got like very high
Mechanics roll. You need at least a 4.
Okay, and I'm gonna spend 3 points in this, so that's 3 plus this roll. Hey, 6.
Yeah. So you managed to do it. So you know you pull out the knife. You know, bust it open, make some cuts, connect some wires, and the engine starts. It turns over. If only you knew how to drive a stick. No, I mean like maybe. Dang it! I hate a clutch. No, or just
Guess
die.
I'm dead.
You see, Dumisa comes out the front. You can wait for Dumisa, or you can start your exit. You're going to have to make a choice. If you wait for Dumisa, you'll be reunited with him. If you pull away, you'll get away for sure.
Do or die, no man left behind.
All right. So you're waiting. Um, you wait, and Dumisa hops on. Is climbing in. As Dumisa's climbing into the car, you're gonna have to make like a driving check to get away. Dumisa's kicking with his back legs. You know, he rolls over to his back. He's kicking at faces, arms. There's at least 5 or 6 different hands that are grabbing a hold of him, trying to pull him out. He's secured himself to the sides of the Jeep, you know, screaming as their nails of their fingers are tearing into his flesh. All right, make that driving check.
All right. I have a driving 10. So I'm sure that gives me some extra stuff, but I don't know what that is right now. But
Yeah,
so
that's really. It's one of those things where you just throw it in reverse and plow through them, like, ha ha!
I think I do the stick and I turn it around, and that's when the heavy metal and heavy drums kick in.
Yes.
And we're just rolling out of this place. I'm gonna spend 5 points from that if I can.
Yeah. So go ahead and roll a die.
Roll, which I needed. So that's 7.
All right. So you totally beat the number that you needed to, and you just spin. You're just pulling them off of them. You're causing them to fall into each other and fall over.
Use the door a few times.
Doors open. Those old Jeep doors, and you have to crash through the gate of the compound, which you do. You're not too sure where to go, though. As you're pulling off into the desert, you hear a loud bang. You feel one of your tires goes. You're a skilled enough driver. You don't need to roll to where you can pull, but you notice one of your tires is out. And you see a helicopter coming over a dune. Yeah. And there's an individual. You can tell you were shot. It's a thin, lean individual, and they start to lower, and they're signaling to you to surrender. Do you or do you fight?
What type of aircraft is it?
This looks like British military.
Ooh.
These would look like your people.
I mean, they just attacked me, and I'm just getting out of a difficult situation. Can I use preparedness to say this Jeep has a mounted gun?
Yeah. So go ahead and roll a d6 and add 3 to it.
Yeah. Shoot at me, will you? 6.
Yeah. So you have a mounted gun on it. You notice they turn their mounted guns from their helicopters at you too, and they're like, they speak first in Kenyan and then in English. There needs be no fight here, no fight at all.
Oh god, I look towards Dumisa like, what do you want to do here?
Yeah. Dumisa says, they don't seem like the others. They you notice they drop a ladder for the chopper for you to come up into, and they're motioning for you to come. They're like, you're British. You're British Special Forces. You're British SIS. We didn't mean to fire on you. We had to make sure that you weren't one of them. And they point to like the grown horde that is, coming down and barreling in on you.
I think I let the music go first, and then once they're halfway up, I get up, and then I think we kind of take off. I'm climbing a whole badass, like look out into the horizon.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Get up. There is a man in a black jacket in the helicopter.
Who are you?
He says, I'll answer that. Did she have blue eyes? Were they glowing blue eyes? Did you see her eyes?
She did.
You notice he hits a couple buttons on his phone, and you see an individual stand up. They pull out what looks like a light anti-tank weapon, like a rocket launcher, and they point it right out the helicopter. And they go, all right, raise altitude, and they're going up higher and higher and higher. They follow it, and there is a flash so bright and a boom so loud. Your ears, you remember when you woke up in the hospital, your ears had been ringing for almost, it felt like 2 weeks.
I definitely think one of the reasons I was knocked out was because as soon as they had started doing that, me and Demisa started fighting the people on the plane. Like,
Yes.
the people are out there.
Yes, that's what they
I get
did.
knocked out.
You found out later in a brief, this organization was an organization of vampire hunters. They had been tracking down one for weeks. They weren't able to get to Africa quick enough to stop her. And that was the day that you learned about vampires and that you learned about a war that was occurring in the shadows. Dumisa lived, thanks to your efforts in waiting behind. Shu was not so lucky. Dumisa recovered Shu's dog tags from the site, which you carry to this day, and Remington's as well. Dumisa gave you his with a secret on them, a number that you can call to always get a hold of him, should you ever need it. You're both members of the Shadow War now, and that isn't going to change anytime soon. And so that is part one of sort of tonight's vignettes, getting a feel for Daequan and, you know, sort of the origins. Hope that was okay for you. It was highly improvisational. So
Yeah,
for some of the audience, this is how we do it sometimes. We want to get a feel for these characters. Yeah.
Getting a backstory.
Yeah.
Feels out.
So let's talk before we move on to the second segment about maybe some things that happened over the next 10 years with Daequan as Daequan developed as an agent. This organization trained you. What are some of the burdens that Daequan has carried with himself, and what are some of the overall goals? Because you got some information about there. They're looking a new government in London was a new UK government.
Yeah, new establishment. I think some of the burdens that Daequan has was letting Shu and Remington go off by themselves. That it was their order, and it was that like splitting up that probably cost them their lives, not being able to save them. I think they'd worked with a number of different agencies around the world, not even with the British Special Forces, but like Russia, China, Iraq, just everywhere. Hence, like the last session with all the tags all over their bodies. And I think with the new British government, I think they've kept close ties in MI6. Just to kind of see what's going on there and how things are moving forward and what this new government looks like and who these vampire hunters are.
Now, some of the information we can give on this stream, some of it I'll give you in private. Let's talk about where Daequan's at in the campaign now. So, and let's sort of talk about some of the events that happened in our last session for the audience. And I'm going to bring up, we always like to bring up our notes. So I'm going to add our notes to the overlay. Let me get it, my friends. So give me just a second. Hey, there it is. Go down. Whoops. draw. There we go. And so we'll make this bigger. All right. All right.
Yeah, getting them notes.
Yeah, so what we always do on this show is we do session prep on these Thursday night shows, and what I want to do is demonstrate to the audience how we can work with a player to help establish some of the directions where we're going in with the campaign. Previously, we've had Jess Mayer on this show, and they talked about notes that they had compiled. For our last session, we actually went through prose notes and used those to help set up. So the last session, you all revisited one of your first leads, which was in Gibraltar, where you encountered a Jack. Jack being the equivalent of a servant of the organization Edom. Is there anything about Edom you're looking to learn more about? Either their organization, who runs them? Let's talk about that for our audience, and then how we might pursue leads to help achieve those goals.
Yeah, so I think what Daequan wants to know about Edom is what's their ruling structure like, because they seem to have some dukes, but it seems some of the dukes may have more free reign. Some of them may have like side operations, just like Elvis did with the whole deal with Jishu. Now that they seem to be captured, so I think looking into that would be interesting. Finding out where they, who gave the order to kill Anto and why Anto. And that kind of thing, and where the new base of operations is, seeing as how everything was moved out quickly, and what they want this serum for.
So I'm just typing these for chat. So these are some questions that Prose presented, and I put this under a section called Daequan's Goals. So investigating the Dukes. And maybe we start by figuring out who we know. So we know two of them at least, and I can say for the chat that three have been involved. So Elvis is one.
Mm-hmm.
The Hound is the other. That may have been the episode you were out, but she had visited the television facility that Jisoo infiltrated. Yeah, and so she was caught on camera, and she's expected to be the individual that gosh darn it, may have captured Elvis. Like, realized Elvis was a traitor and captured. There are some signs that point to that. Some leads we have to investigate the Dukes are Gandalf, the MI6 computer boffin. Gandalf is willing to help, but Gandalf might not stick their head out. You might get some information from JQ Harker in London.
Yes, yeah. Because we were discussing about heading to London at some point as well, looking at the new MI6 and what's in there, and Dracula's home, and I guess as well finding out any Elvis's contacts, if he had any other traders that might be in there helping, because if Elvis, the Duke, is willing to betray Edom, I'm sure that he has someone else working with him inside of it as well.
Yeah, some other things we know about Elvis, too, it was Elvis is located in the Balkans, so the Ruvari Gigani mafia was most likely working under Elvis, so there would be a power vacuum, so someone else would step in. If they were working with Edom, maybe whoever fills that void might.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose. I mean, because we left Romania, I don't think we should go back. So definitely looking into the MI6 database. See if we can find the person who wrote in the green margins, any of their successors, anyone else who's done anything.
Cushing. You have
Yeah,
Cushing's address.
we have Cushing's address.
Gandalf gave it to you. They're in the Lake District in England.
Yes.
So is J.Q. Harker. You stole his vampire hunting kit.
Are they the same person?
No, they're definitely different people, but they live in the same area by chance, based off of. So we would show this to the audience. Neighbors. I might, yeah, not neighbors, but yeah, they're both in the same area. Let's see. So figuring out who wants to kill Antal and what is the serum. So I can tell you this much while you're here. Daequan would know the serum is referred to as Seaward Serum, which will infuse the individual with vampiric superpowers for a short amount of time.
Ooh.
Yes. You've encountered it before. And your contacts, Dumisa specifically, would know what it is, and you've seen it a few times. Someone else that might be able to give you more information about the Dukes was Hartness from Morocco. That was the person you tricked. They thought you were the Jack.
Right.
You showed up.
Didn't I send the Jack after Hartness though?
Yeah. Yeah. So if Hartness lives, someone else that might have leads on Dukes is Olivia Liu, who's still out there.
Right. Yeah, we just haven't talked about that.
No, you haven't talked to her in a while. So shifting gears, let's talk about party relations. So, who in the party do you want to get to know better on a personal level?
On a personal level,
yes.
I think the oddest one that stands out, like I Daequan's worked with people like Antal before. Jisoo is the comm specialist and analyst, so they're kind of the same. The odd one out is T. So Daequan doesn't understand them. Like, yes, they have a lot of social connections in like the urban frame, but they don't understand why they're on the mission. Even though they've proven themselves here and there, they're not like they still see them as like a civilian.
Yeah, and it's interesting that T was the connection to Sin Varut to you. And it's like, what else is here? Is this just like a really good cover? Yes. Is there something deeper? How does T know about the vampires? And how does T feel about the vampires? So, good things. And then I'm going to look at your clues. Out of any of your research into the game so far, or rather for next session, what is the big question you want to have answered, and what are your and what would be your like hopeful outcome for the end of next to have resolved by the end of next session? This is the same question I asked Jess, who plays Jisoo, because I think if we figure out, it's like, is there a specific question we're trying to answer? And if we play to answer that question, that'll help us persist through the campaign.
Well, seeing as how we're coming a lot of Edom stuff, I think the big question is for Daequan is Nicholas Lohman was supposed to be the mole for Edom in MI6, but it was said not to be. So they wanna find out who was. where that person is and that their connections, because if they're connecting with the in the MI6, most likely they're connected with the new government.
Sorry, I've just brought up like the wrong freaking window and I'm messaging it up. So I was trying to pull up notes because for the audience that watches, we had a bunch of Nicholas Loman notes last prep session. Yeah, so I'll circle back on that. In fact, you'll find, I think, so.
We're
Let me
going
write
to
down your
London
question.
most likely, because there's a lot of stuff leading us to London.
Yeah, so what is the aftermath of Nicholas Loman? Yeah, one of the reasons I introduced Gandalf last session was I was looking at all of your notes on Nicholas Loman, because Gandalf worked with Nicholas Loman. And actually, there's a document in our Discord. I can give you the bigger one, which is like the original orders to seek after and kill Nicholas Loman.
Yeah,
or like the
and
original
Cushing
hit.
knows more about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So all right, I think that's good. Well, we're coming up on time for our session, our prep session this week. Chad, I hope you enjoyed it. We played a mini side stories with my good friend Pro Restarter and got to explore one-on-one, as well as start thinking about questions that we want to answer in the campaign, and then how we can work together to prep to answer those. Some of the secrets that answer this, I'll explain to the chat, because I know a lot of people look this up on how to prep. So there are several pages that I will reference, and if you've been following along, you'll know this. So the first things first. For what is the serum? We know that it's C-word serum. Yes, and that is in the Director's Handbook, which I abbreviate as DH. And we know that all the information on the Loman incident is with Cushing. And we have, if you watch the last prep information, we've turned the dials on Loman to connect Loman to the original Dracula novel, and there's a character in the original Dracula novel that is related to Loman.
Mm-hmm.
And the results of that initial investigation are impacting the campaign today. The players came this close to figuring it out last session, but we moved in a different direction, which was almost good, because I was like, oh gosh, am I ready for this? No, they want me to run something that I prepped 6 weeks ago. Damn it! And I opened my... But I did prep it, and so everyone who watches these, they'll know. They're like, oh yeah, that was like your first and second prep sessions. You were like, just in case they go to Gibraltar, we need to talk about what's there. So when you guys went there, I was like, oh, let me open my old document and look at my notes. All right, I know what's there.
God, TTRPG moment. There's the clue to the end game. What's that?
Yes! So worried about it. It's like you guys are going to find Dracula's castle and be like, we're going to the club. I hope you have a good playlist. So, Pro, thank you again for coming out. Where can we find you online? We're going to... let me... there's got to be a way I can make my little window disappear. There we go. I want to go back, get rid of my notes. So let's go ahead and talk about where we can find you online. I'm going to drop your link for your Patreon in chat again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was super fun getting to know more about Daequan. You can find me online at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, all over the place. You can also find me on my channel, just before this, playing Black Banner on Saturdays at 1 p.m. EST, and my podcast that is a full POC LGBTQ plus podcast It's Shadow of the Demon Lord drama filled actual play coming out next month. You can get the first 2 episodes exclusively on the Patreon before we go live. So yeah, be sure to hit that up, and thank you for having me. It's been super fun as always when I get to play this game.
Well, it's been great to have you. Just so you know, the audience knows, Pro is one of the reasons we're even doing the campaign at all. We'd been talking about it for months, setting up this campaign, getting the players, working with our wonderful sponsor, Pelgrane Press. Dropping some links to them in the chat. The best way to support this show is to click on those links. They know when you click on them, and they know how often they get clicked on. If you're watching this video on YouTube, they will be listed beneath the video. I'm also including a voucher code for 20% off all Knights Black Agents products. That code will expire August 31st. If you don't see it listed beneath the YouTube video, look for the pinned comment by Grant R. Ellis, which will give you 20% off. It's a great game, great system. The system's Knight Black Agents. The campaign is the Dracula Dossier, and the soundtrack is Dust and Mirrors, music by Jason Simple. Also, with all that's going on in the world, we're going to include some links to the national support list for Black Lives Matter, hashtag George Floyd. Check out the list if you want to support any of your local groups to help all the cause that's going on in the world right now. WebDM is fully supporting and taking funds and donating them to a variety of causes, charities, and support groups. And I'm proud to circulate those links. So I'm Grant Ellis. I'm the producer of WebDM's Twitch channel. Catch you all on the flip side. Au revoir.